The album's called The Head Nimesh In Charge. That's the name of the album. And that was just the funniest thing I could think of to name it. Because I feel like anything else would be too coy. The Head Nimesh In Charge. And the cover's gonna be, well, you'll see the cover. It's coming out on August 20th. Hopefully, if no, the mic is fine. What was I saying? Oh yeah, it's gonna come out August 20th. That's 10 years and a day after I started comedy. So it feels like I'll be like the rookie and the vet, but not really a vet at all. 10,000 hours though, that's what they say. 10 years is 10,000 hours. That's Malcolm Gladwell. So if you put 10,000 hours into something, you get good at it. And August 20th, I'll be 10,000 hours in a day in, which is crazy because I was pre-med finance at NYU, and now I tell jokes. And for about 10 years, my parents were worried. And now this is what I do. They just come to terms with it. It's pretty cool. Now I'm telling jokes and smoking weed in a recording studio. Far from the model minority stereotype. Because I was supposed to be doing something else. But maybe not. I started at Stress Factory in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And all of my cousins came to watch me do 4 minutes. It was a bringer open mic where you had to bring people to do time. And I brought 20 people. It was so deep that the club owner decided he would go up before me and do like 20 minutes because we were so packed in there, and he wanted to make fun of Indian people. And he did. It was fantastic. It destroyed. And then I think Rich Voss went up because he lives in Jersey, and he would just drop in on that place on a Wednesday if he was bored at home. And then I went up and I was doing my best Chris Rock impression. And I talked about Hillary because it was 6 months after Barack got inaugurated. I was making fun of Hillary and I didn't bomb. So I was like, all right, I'll try this out. And then I used very similar stuff at Eastville in the East Village 2 days later, and that shit ate a dick, and there was 6 people there, and I was like, oh, this is the bad part that everyone's talking about. That there's 6 people at an open mic that you paid $5 to be at, and those 6 people are other comedians who paid $5, and no one laughs. And then somehow you just keep that up for as long as possible. Because after I dropped pre-med, I was supposed to be a finance person, and that didn't work out. I didn't do as well as I should have at NYU, didn't recruit, was unemployed. And then for a year, I was like, what am I doing with my life? And I started comedy. And here I am. Bounced around mad finance jobs. My boy Mikkel gave me the first one I had in New York. And I would leave any job I was at like 6 o'clock on the dot so I could go do open mics. And then I moved to the city about a year after I started comedy. Before that, I was sleeping on my friend John and Joe's couch whenever I could because I had them all their couches. So I could do open mics for 4 or 5 minutes at a time and then do nothing all day except eat shawarma. And then I got my boy Mikkel hooked me up with an internship. that kept me in the city. I got my first job at some fund. And I remember I must have been 2 years into comedy at that point, because we had just started Broken Comedy. Denny had asked myself and Che to be residents on a show he was starting called Broken Comedy in a basement not too far from here in Brooklyn. And I was so amped to have a residency at a place, meaning you could go up every time the show was on. And it was a weekly show. And the first one was packed, because I think Hannibal was on it. And then the ones after that were not packed at all, but they were fun. We had an unlimited beer hookup, so we would bring beer. Our catch was, or our selling point was, that for $5 you would get unlimited beer. And it was such a stupid proposition financially, because we would lose money all the time. But people kept coming, and then that place closed in like 3 days because it was underneath an independent shipper, independent FedEx, and in the basement the guy converted it to a lounge almost, completely against code probably. And then we moved from there to Matchless. But I remember leaving the hedge fund job I was at during the company party to go to do Matchless, or not Matchless, to do the shipping place. And I remember my boss looking at me like, I'm gonna fire you 3 months after. Like, he knew the day he was gonna fire me. Like, the day he decided was the company party, because I left to go do 8 minutes at Broken Comedy. And yeah, that was nuts. I got my first paid comedy job 11 months in. I got made $20 because I did this open mic, and this guy Marcellus Hall saw me, and as I'm leaving he asked for my card, and I had a card at the time, which is the corniest shit. I had nothing to give cards out about, but everyone's, you gotta get a card. So I gave him one, and then he emailed me the next day, said, hey, my friend runs this show called Variety Shack at UCB in Chelsea, and I got an email the next day from his friend, and she wanted to come see me at an open mic. So I went to Duplex Open Mic, which is the most fun open mic. It still happens every Wednesday at Duplex. She came to see me there, and that was a risk, because I was 50-50 in that spot. I would bomb 50% of the time, the other 50% I'd do fine. She came to see me last minute, was like, you're good. And then her name was Shanali. And then I did Variety Shack in like the middle of summer. And that parlayed into another show at some spot in Greenpoint, and that was my first $20. I still have that $20. It's tucked underneath a Ganesh statue at my parents' house. Don't steal it. It's my emergency fund if some shit goes down. Yeah. I feel like a lot of this will just sound spiteful, because a lot of the middle is the rejection part of comedy, which is the most hurtful part, but also it doesn't really matter. Now I have the benefit of hindsight, but that shit don't matter at all. I remember the summer I got rejected from my third time auditioning for Montreal JFL was the summer that we had a matchless show that Chris Rock came to, and that was the night. Chris Rock saw me, and then 3 months later, I got my first writing job, which was a contract to write on the Oscars. But that was like almost that same week or two after I'd gotten the rejection from JFL. Chris was supposed to come see another comic at Matchless. Chris was late. And so I was like, okay, I'll go up. And then once Chris walked in, I was like, I'm definitely going up. And so I went up, and Kevin McCaffrey had gone up before me and just leveled the place, which is very rare at Matchless, that the first comic would just absolutely murder, and he destroyed. And then I went up right after that, and I knew Chris was there, so I was like, I have to do A, because I bombed at Matchless more than any other comic. And so I was like, I have to destroy this. So I went up and I said, I forget what I said, but I remember saying, it was right after Cecil the lion had died. I was like, why do we care about animals? I had 4 chickens today, and that like killed in the room, and I heard Chris laugh at it. And then I blacked out. And then 10 minutes later, I was off stage. I stepped outside of the showroom, and Chris watched Langston Kerman, who went up right after me and did great. Chris came out and told me I was funny, and then he got in a car, and I was like, oh shit, Chris just told me I was funny. That's enough. That's like passing at JFL. 3 months later, I got an email from Tony Hernandez, who was with Chris at the time. He was like, hey, Chris wants you to write for the Oscars. And I was like, shut up. I didn't respond. I was like, let me see what my manager has to say. Because that seemed fake. And then 3 days later, she got a call from some old guy at the Academy who probably mispronounced my name. Hey, Chris wants some Nimesh to write. And that was it. And then the finance job I was working was also closing down, and the same month as the Oscars. And so that job ended, and I went right into writing in my first comedy job. And so Langston was in the room, Wolf was in the room, Vanessa Ramos, a bunch of young legends, and then a lot of other people. But I remember Langston, Michelle, and I, we all found out on the same day that we were going to be writing for the show. And there was a Comedy Central party that night, and we all saw each other, and we like danced in the middle of the comedy party. Like, oh my God, we're going to the Oscars. That was nuts. Fast forward, that winter of 2016, me and my boy Mookie, we sold a show to MTV2 about music called Rhyme and Reason. And that was like no money. And Viacom holds money for as long as possible. But we were so amped because we sold that shit in the room. They called us like an hour later saying, hey, we want to work with you. We want to do this, MTV2. And then we were producing a pilot for like 2-3 months. We hired like a bunch of awesome people, Petey, Denny, Will Miles. My boy Asif was in the room. Josh Gondelman, who is a monster. Joe Grider. Cypher, because that's the music legend. And he was our guy in the street. And we were trying to create a segment for him where he told hip-hop tales. And we were so amped to have him because it was fucking Cypher Sounds. So yeah, that show didn't go. We made a pilot. Our EP, PJ, was the funniest guy. We made a pilot, shot it down at I think 350 Hudson. And we had a great time making it, and we thought that we had proved that the show would do well, or would be very good, because we would just make fun. We were just making fun of music. Like, we made fun of The Weeknd in that we had a whole segment on The Weeknd. We made fun of Starboy, because The Weeknd is the shit. But he had that album out that summer. We had Blair Sachke and Will Miles in the pilot. Will Miles played The Weeknd, and Blair played the side piece that The Weeknd is always talking about. But that didn't go. MTV2 decided to want to have. We weren't teen mom enough. We should have been pregnant in 12, and then maybe they would have bought the show, or they would have went. But they ended up just not buying anything new. And then fast forward a few months after that, Hudson got the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner, which is the precursor to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And he asked me to write on the Congressional Correspondents' Dinner. So that took like a month or 2 weeks or something. And then after that, I wrote on Comedy KO. And at this point, I was still deciding whether or not I should go back into getting a real job. Now, the congressional thing was, I think I guess it was 2016. Yeah, that was after the Oscars, but before the pilot. And then 2017 came around. I was writing on Comedy KO, which was the funnest writer's room. It was me, Noah, Suba, Khalees, Dave Hill, Matt Agee, Alex Song, Sam Pasternak, so many other people. Hopefully I'm not forgetting anybody. But that was so much fun, because we would just talk shit all day. Oh, Matt Kirshen, we would talk shit all day. It was a long ass table, and we all just sat at the table writing jokes and about different shit. It was so funny. Yeah, that was KO, and then I worked with Aquafina on Talk 90. I feel like I'm just bragging now. I'm not, though. It's all just gratitude to everybody that I've crossed paths with. But yeah, she had a show called Talk with Aquafina on Go 90. And for season 4, I got to write rhymes for Heems and Andy Milonakis. I wrote some goofy ass sketches for Aquafina. That was fun. That was a lot of fun. That felt cool. There's only 2 of us, I think. Only 2 or 3 writers. And we had a blast. I had a blast. And then, what happened? Oh, I got passed at the Cellar in June of 2016 or so. And so I was doing a lot of work at there. I'd finally been on the road. Was on the road with Miles Jabrani. He was the second guy to take me on the road with him. First was Che. We went down to DC, which is where I recorded the album. But this was forever ago. He was headlining in DC, and he brought me down to open. And that was my first time in DC, and I fell in love with the city to do comedy there. That was my first time doing comedy there. That's why I recorded the album in DC. But yeah, so back to like 2016, I guess, 2016, 2017, I was just hoping for work. And then one summer, the summer before SNL, Chris hired me to write on set with him when he was doing The Week Up, the Adam Sandler movie. That room was fun too. That was me, Jeff Joseph, Rich Voss, Frank Sebastiano, just hanging out with Chris all day. And I got to play ball with Sandler for a day, which was the craziest shit ever. The nicest guy on the planet. And he won, him and his... But I'm also awful. I'm also awful at basketball. even Joe Vesey couldn't save me from Adam Sandler and his guy. And then, yeah, fast forward to SNL, Weekend Update, time of my life. Did that for a season. Interesting time. And then it's been a year since that. Oh, I did Seth Meyers. Armin, you know this? I was at the Cellar the Friday before I did Seth Meyers. No, the Friday before I did Seth Meyers, I got a call to run the set at the Cellar for 5 minutes because the booker wanted to see me. And a few hours before that, I got told I wasn't going back to SNL. So I was running the set. I ran the set, having learned just like 2 hours before that I wasn't going back to the show. And I didn't have time to think about it. And then did the set, went well, did Seth Meyers like 3 days later. And then the day after that, I flew to Winnipeg to headline for 4 days, Rumors in Winnipeg, which was so much fun. Because I don't think I did maybe 20, 30 minutes of material and did 30 minutes of talking to the crowd because it was Canada and I didn't respect it. No, it was because I figured it'd be fun to like get some legs and remind myself I was funny. Did that. That was 2017. Yeah, that ended 2017. No, that was 2017 to 2018. Yep, and now here I am. I think it's been a year almost, more than a year since I had that job. But I just did stand-up notoriously to effect at Columbia, which parlayed into Rogan, who was the nicest guy. A bunch of other, just more stand-up work, some attention. And now we're here. I just recorded the album. Did I forget anything? Oh, and of course, Matchless. Greatest show of all time, Broken Comedy. Matchless was Denny's doing. I think he found, once the FedEx spot closed, he found Matchless, which was a bar at one of the corners of McCarran Park in Greenpoint, Manhattan and Nassau. And they had this dope back room where they used to do rock shows on Mondays, and they would have like 6 people at those shows. So when Denny said, hey, let us try comedy here, they let us. And then we were the Monday show with like 6 people. It was me, Che, Denny, trying to run this show, booking it, putting the chairs out, lighting candles, playing music, lighting comics, giving out drink tickets, all that for so long. And Denny was hosting it. And then it slowly, very slowly started growing because we just kept doing it. We'd never canceled, I don't think. We just kept doing the show. And slowly over time it grew. We'd try to have sick lineups and have people want to come back because it was free. It was Monday night, free, in a poppin' neighborhood. And then I forget when I started hosting. And then one night I was bombing as a host. Che came on stage, put a chair down, and we talked in front of like 8 people. And that went fine, but then we decided it'd be fun to just host together on stage. So we did that for a while. And then Che got hot. He did Letterman, SNL, all that within a very short time frame of the show and his career, and then that show got pretty popular, and it was also a great hang for comics. We would all just get high and chill in the back, and drink till very late because the matchless food was banging. They would play whatever games we asked in terms of football or basketball, and they let us hang out in the back room. And those bartenders were very generous once we got to know them with their pours. And so we would just party. We would drink and hang out. It's a good time. Oh yeah, too many memories there to count. Every Monday for like 6-7 years. Almost, 6 years. We started in January of 2012, I want to say. Yeah, we started January 2012, and the last show was in January of 2018, because they sold the bar. They sold the building, and then they just sat on it. Those pricks. We could have had the show the whole time. Not really, but yeah, it was a good time. So many shows later, but Matches is where I got comfortable being bad at comedy. Yeah, that's it. 10 years is a long time to recap. I'm sure I forgot a lot of shit. I think the past 6 months have been crazy. Past 8 months. Because my friend Kev passed away, and it really put shit in perspective. You know, that none of this really matters. Which was the life lesson. Let go and let Luger. Yeah, that's it, man. Here we are, 2019. Hopefully August 20th. That's when you're listening, or you probably turned this off by now. If you're still listening, my social security number is